part of the rationale behind this pilot, the way we used to do things is we used to highlight what were some of the main problems that the sector was experiencing and what are a number of AI solutions that might address those problems. And so, but what we're doing this time is we're really focusing on one big problem, which is more broadly the issue of AI supporting workload, but particularly we're focusing in on workload around teaching, around assessment, and particularly marking and feedback. We want to understand whether artificial intelligence can streamline the process of marking and feedback in a way that is acceptable and ultimately beneficial for all the stakeholders involved. This pilot will have two strands to it. So in the past, we've done some pilots that have focused on particular products and some focus that have looked at general purpose tools. This time, we're going to look at how both of these can address the problem. So what we've got here and what we're focusing on today are the free products that we've been chosen, and these are the task-specific solutions that products are geared towards addressing issues around marking and feedback. We also want to explore, and this isn't something we're going to touch on as much in this session, but there is a blog that I will put a link into momentarily. We're also going to look at general purpose AI tools such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, Claude, how these kind of tools can help support the process of assessment and how they can help to reduce workload around marking and feedback. Our evaluation is going to be a little bit different for this pilot as well. So the evaluations tended to have the format of they were reviewing the product and talking about our experiences of piloting the product. Here, what we want to do is, as part of the evaluation, is to understand the impacts that AI solutions have had. Also look at the attitudes that people have towards these solutions, because it's also about the change management aspect is really important. And the other thing that we're really keen on doing is starting to support the implementation. And what we anticipate is that there will be a lot of traction. There'll be a lot of, we anticipate these are free products that we have a lot of confidence in. We imagine that participants may want to continue using it afterwards, or other participants, other members of the sector may benefit from these tools, and we would like to be able to use our experiences from the pilot to support with implementation. So having how-to guides that can just make sure that people can hit the ground running with that. One of the things we've noticed with our pilots in the past, we've had sort of feedback on how timeframes haven't quite worked at all kind of points in the school, in the academic year. And what we've judged from this is that we just need a lot more flexibility so that institutions have a bit more leadership on when and ownership of when they pilot these products. So the pilot will be running across the entirety of next academic year. In some cases, that will mean a year-long license. In some cases, it will mean selecting which sixth window with that year you want to choose to run the pilot. And because we've got these free product-based pilots and this pilot of general purpose tools running in sync, what we want to do is take advantage of the shared wisdom there by having a whole project community that will be involved. So those are the key differences between these pilots. And so without further ado, I'll hand over to John Manjin from Grade, who will talk to you a bit about their product.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for the opportunity, Tom and Jisc. We don't have too much time, so I will jump straight into it. Please do put your questions in the chat. So, sorry, one sec. Can you see my screen? Yep. So We're grade, and we like to say that we take the grind out of grading, or to make marking easy, if that's a a tagline if you want to kind of take away from here. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about myself and our organization. We founded in 2019, so we've been doing this for quite a long time before AI became cool. We're a university spin-out. I was actually a teaching assistant myself whilst I was doing my PhD, and that led me to kind of understand the pains associated with marking to try to build something that would be better. We're a venture capital based company, and we've kind of developed the product over time to go from mathematics to text to essays and covering basically the whole remit of assessment as much as we can. Now, I think right out the gate, the one thing I want to really emphasize more than anything is that we are an assessment co-pilot. So really, it's designed to be an assistive tool, not a replacement tool. And the idea here is that it supports you so that it frees up your time. So it's an end-to-end platform, which means you can run the entire assessment process, like allocation, distribution, moderation, all that sort of stuff. But you also get the benefits of artificial assessment assisted grading. Try to say that 3 times quickly. Now, the second thing I really want to emphasize here is that we do not use large language models. Like in 2019, large language models weren't really around, at least not in the capacity that they are today. And in different types of research papers, I know I've got academics in this call as well, and you can feel free to look at these research papers yourself, and more are coming out, that they often struggle to show kind of accuracy, have different kind of grade distributions and replicability, and quite often have socioeconomic bias because of the data sources that are used. As such, we don't use large language models at all. We instead use something called classification AI. So, those items that I was talking about earlier, the 3 things I would really think about here are the bias, the consistency, and explainability. So our AI instead uses proprietary classification AI, and it's designed to always have the teacher in the loop. So that means that all the data that's associated with your marking algorithms, it's only your data. There's no third-party data or no, the extra sources or the entire internet or somebody else's questions in there. It's only yours. That allows classification AI allows you to be consistent as well, which is very useful because naturally generative AI have randomness built in. That's how they work. And then explainability as well. I appreciate, some people might have heard of classification AI before, and they might be thinking, oh, is it like a neural network? It's not actually. It's a proprietary system, and that allows us to have a significant amount of explainability within our systems, which allows us to understand why decisions are being made. And we're working on kind of making that process more easily understood in the product as well. So quite timely, really. I saw this article on the BBC today, this morning, and it says that, talking about the guidelines of DfE released regarding AI in assessment, and even them, right, they're talking a lot about how AI can come up with made up quotes and facts and information. They're very specifically thinking about generative again, but I really want to emphasize the big difference here. Like, we're a classification system, so you don't actually have to worry about our system making up anything, because it literally can't. So here are some QR codes. I'm going to hand over to John now, who's going to actually take over the actual demo, and he'll pop these QR codes and links and all that sort of good stuff at the end as well.
Thank you for that, Majinder. Wait 1 second, let me just load up my screen for you. Can you see the back end of the platform, Majinder? Perfect. I'm going to jump straight into the demo because we're pretty short on time. So within our platform, we do have a PDF marker. That can be found in many of the platforms, but I'm just going to show you. So we have a shared marking rubric. You can bulk upload batch loads of PDFs, and it's as if you were marking on paper. You can highlight any region, use your rubric, and start to mark. A really simple user interface. The benefits of using the shared rubric, having the platform automatically calculate marks and having everything in one place, it's typically a 50 to 60-ish% time saving versus traditional marking methods. Where we start to add even more value is where I'd like to focus today. I'm going to show you a maths question, a short text question, and an essay or report. So let me go to a digital maths question. We have our shared marking rubric on the left, and this is really important within grade. It's a single source of truth. It helps guarantee consistency for all assignments. Yes, and so here we have our question and our student submission here. These tiles represent different submissions as well. So initially there's a little bit of training because the platform, we started wanting to learn how I as a marker want to mark this piece of work, and then it starts to learn off that marking and then very quickly starts to support me and do more and more of that on my behalf. So as I move to the next question, as you can see, it's highlighted, the platform was suggested with 100% degree confidence. This is how I would like to mark this submission. So I can accept that and move on and check the next submission, or if I want to make a change, I can, and it will feed that back into the model in real time. So a little bit of training up front, and then the platform gets all this knowledge and insight and all these future submissions that I haven't had to look at. We can also then start to use confidence to route certain submissions. So I could say, for example, if a platform's over 95% confident, please mark those. And where you're less confident, send them to me and our team of educators and we'll mark those. It's a very similar sort of principle when we look at short text-based responses. Typically a couple of paragraphs, a couple of 100 words, we're item marking, and we're looking for particular pieces of knowledge, skills and behaviours being evidenced in the work. Again, our shared marking rubric, and it's really easy to add feedback items at any point in time. What the feedback is, if you'd like to associate any marks, and then you can also tag those feedback items. And the benefit there is that you get an instant view in your analytics dashboard as to where the key strengths and growth opportunities are at an individual or cohort level. But coming back to marking this short text, so I can see all these questions zooming in on my screen. Coming back to short text-based response, I can then, the platform starts to learn the words I care about as an educator when I'm marking, the words I don't care about, and actually how a student has constructed their submission. So in this example, it's natural selection, but if the student may have said natural selections or a different way of saying the correct response, and I want to reward it with a mark, I can do that, and the platform will start to learn those nuances also. Benefits being, for example, if you have English as a second language, there's no bias against those individuals because it's learning off how you want to particularly mark. So I have to keep zooming in. I'm then going to spend a little bit of time focusing on essays and long form submissions. So typically these could take anything from 30 to 45 minutes to mark a single submission. When you're marking those with grade, that can come down to about a minute or two. So considerable time saving and lots of interest in this area of our platform. So we have our student submission on the right. This happens, and then we have our shared marking rubric on the left. Again, we build this out. You can choose the number of bands you have and the type of feedback you'd like to give, given where a student may land in this particular assignment. And this rubric tends to be based on key learning criteria and outcomes that you're wanting to assess the piece of work with. Initially, when we mark, it's a really effective and useful interface to mark relatively high volumes of student submissions. The learner will get to see where they currently sit and then some supportive feedback on how they may be able to improve. And then we blend that with the ability also to give one-time personalized feedback to any particular student. So I could give just one piece of feedback to this learner and in it goes. Now we've released the ability for the AI to start to automatically support with these types of submissions. Often we get asked about how quickly does it learn. Typically we need a minimum of 5 submissions for each data point on your rubric, so we can start to learn why you mark certain things in certain ways. A little bit of research on this. So Oxbridge is a Birmingham-based online training provider. Took 3 English essay questions, trained the models using just 15 submissions, and the platform was correct in matching how our educators marked 88% of the time. A couple of key things to note here. Obviously, the more you use the platform, the higher that accuracy gets. If you have historic submissions, we can pre-train the model, so it's very high from the start. And I think it's important to note that no educators are 100% accurate. Things do get in the way. Stress, burnout, other things get in the way of life. So here we compare the accuracy and standardization of the grade platform versus that of our educators. And perhaps unsurprisingly, our platform is more standardized and more consistent. A couple of other things to quickly share with you. This is the analytics dashboard that I mentioned. Everything links into here. It's a live analytics at an individual or group level, both on the learner side and then also importantly on the consistency of marking side. So we can look at if marking sits outside your norms. You can invite moderators to check they're happy with the consistency of work and make any changes that may be required. And we can also identify people that may mark slightly higher or lower than others. It all links into a centralized gradebook, so a historic record of all submissions, feedback and scores given. This typically is linked via LTI 1.3 into your existing platforms, be that Moodle, Brightspace, Canvas, Blackboard. We link to all of those, so it's a pretty seamless experience from an educator or learner perspective. We also have an Inspire Originality bolt-on, so you'll be able to access that directly within the Grade platform. So you can do originality checking as well as getting the benefits of the Grade marking platform. Lots of different settings, which I won't dwell on now, but you can choose whether you want to distribute marking at a question or an assignment level. You can allow extra time to particular students. But I think it's also important to see what the learner will receive. So here is an example of a mark submission sent back to me as the learner. It's very clear to see my marks by question, an overall piece of feedback, and then my feedback and marks. Here we've got a multiple choice, a maths question, a short text question, and that essay response, which I touched upon. Are there any other couple of things to share with you? I think that was my brief overview. You've seen a couple of key question types that we look at. It all links into that gradebook, which links into your essential LMS. It's a human in the loop approach, which is really important to us as a company. And the AI learns and supports extremely quickly. I guess to touch upon data and compliance, we use AWS cloud-based servers. We handle data anonymously, typically linking just to a student identifier. We're GDPR compliant. We have Cyber Essentials Plus, and we don't share any data outside of the organization. So we always link it to your organization, and we build AI at a question by question level. All we care about are your learners, how you like to give feedback, and we learn off that. And very quickly, the platform starts to do more and more of that on your behalf. And I think I'm going to stop there. I hope you've got the key essence of what we like to do. It's a very quick demo, and we'd appreciate the time to spend a little bit more time with you, take things through a little slow with you so you can appreciate all the other benefits of the platform. But thank you for that, Majinder and Tom, and I hope that's okay for you, Tom.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, John and Manjinder, and thanks, Manjinder, for working through the questions in the chat thoroughly and speedily. There's a few in the question and answer as well. I think the chat has become the dominant
yes, it pings it very quickly, Tom, if you're talking.
There's one or two. We'll try and I'll try and go into the settings and get the get it to stop pinging quite so frequently, because yes, you're on it. Manjinder has just shared John's email in the chat as well if there are any additional questions, but they'll continue to be answered.
Well, if you don't mind, Tom, if I just put the last slide on the screen just for 2 seconds, if that's okay. If you can see my screen now, there's a couple of QR codes if anyone would like to follow up as well.
Fantastic. That's great. Thank you. I'll hand over now to Chris.
Thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm going to try to whiz through because I don't like to take too long. My presentation does come with a bit of a health warning. I hope nobody's allergic to the colour orange because it's very orange, I realise. So sunglasses at the ready if you need them. So I'll start out with a brief introduction. I realised suddenly I had nothing about who I am. I should probably explain where I've come from. So my name's Chris. Hello, Chief Academic Officer at Keith. I was previously the Head of Digital Learning at the University of Surrey, which is where Keith span out from. I'm a National Teaching Fellow. I'm a CATE recipient. I've got the D2L Excellence Award winner, and I'm also randomly back in the history of VET as well. So interesting career arc. Happy to chat over a beer about that at some point. So I've also chucked my QR code on here. If anybody wanted to grab me on LinkedIn, that's probably a useful way to keep tabs on us afterwards. So a little bit about Keith. As I said, AI EdTech spin out from the University of Surrey. We have had a shorter history than Grade, so really only kind of got going. A lot of the work was originally done by our founders, so PhD student and colleagues at the University of Surrey, but the university span us out in 2023. We launched in the House of Lords, which is not a bad venue, I think you'll agree, and a number of awards picked up along the way. So lots of interest globally, to be honest, which is really lovely. What I'm going to focus on really today is I wanted to just try to give a very brief overview. I'm not as brave as John, so I didn't want to go into a live product demo. I know my browser will crash or something else will go horrifically wrong. So I'm going to try and just set out simply what Keith does in 3 steps. And using Keith, as I say, is easy as 1, 2, 3. So step 1 is where we create a model. So we do use a version of a large language model, but with a lot of different technology. So slightly different slant on taking this. We're not using the kind of large language models. We have our own bespoke model we've created, and we use a lot of different AI techniques. Happy to go over the detail if anybody's interested, in order to eliminate any bias, in order to reduce any hallucination and improve our accuracy. When we get to step 1 of creating our model, essentially we're trying to create a model that's bespoke for every single assignment. So if any single assignment goes into our system, we have your very own pet AI essentially for this. Okay, and it looks a little bit like this. So we always start with the rubrics. We've got a number of ways you can add a rubric in. Our most popular is just uploading one you've got. You can probably imagine our least popular is a manual creation of a rubric, and somewhere in the middle we can have AI generate a rubric for you. See here I did a prompt around, if anybody's eagle-eyed, baking a cake, because who wants to see lots of dry subjects? We want a lovely cakey mode at the moment. So we can create a model there with the rubrics, with any additional materials. You can upload any context about the module, about the subject itself. Our step 2 is then how we train that model. So we talk a lot about training models, fine-tuning models. Our core AI is okay, but for the accuracy, for the reliability, for what we want to be able to do, we need to train that. We've got a couple of ways, so similar in some respects to some of what Grade's talked about. So we can look at a custom approach, which is where we take past papers. We can do this with as few as 10 scripts. We'd rather have 50 if you can, or 100. We take those historic scripts and we can then train the model to look at how you mark and how you're providing feedback across that. Okay. The other approach that we've developed more recently is called TAGO in-house, so train as you go. And in this approach, you essentially can get going from within the first 5 minutes. You upload your rubric and away you go. And the rubric starts out marking not super accurate, but every paper you do, it gets more and more accurate. So you're able to update the model as you go. Step 3 is then how we actually get around to marking. So I'm going to show you this now with my rubric. So on the left-hand side of the screen here, interesting seeing which way around it's gone, we've got the student work on the left. You can see I'm scrolling up and down there, and I've got the rubric on the right-hand side that I've just generated. So we also have very much a human in the loop approach. We absolutely want our academics to be going through the work to come up with what they think this work should be worth. And the whole point of our system is absolutely not to replace the academic. We think absolutely we need more of them, to be honest. And what Keith can then do is provide suggested grades, suggested feedback. That's the key part. It's a suggestion, it's a starting point. So we're getting some really lovely data coming through in terms of how much time this can save. I don't want to throw loads of percentages at you. I kind of want you to come and have a go yourself. What you can see I'm doing here is I'm going in and changing the marks. I can change the feedback. I can even provide a rationale to the model to help it understand why it is that that thing I've changed is different. And that all feeds back in to the model to then enhance what we can do. Okay, so very quick bit there. A quick slide on some of the data, some of the evidence and what we've been doing to track it. So the top left one here, if anybody familiar with moderation with multiple markers, this is the kind of stuff I had to look at. So I was a teaching academic for many years, teaching in vet modules. this is some of the data we've got at the moment. We've got more and more universities supplying more and more every day, which is great. This is actually my module. So I used to teach communication skills, and this was an assignment relating to a reflective portfolio. So this was my marking, the light orange at the back, and then the Keith marks towards the rear, across 85 scripts, looking at how we marked. Really similar distribution, similar kind of averages, similar at both ends of the scale. Panning across then, we had, I then being a cynic, I see myself as a skeptical enthusiast everywhere technology is concerned. I really wanted to see, okay, on an individual paper by paper basis, where did these papers come out? And so this is one of the testing functions we're building out now as a standard report, to be able to say, okay, across all of the scripts you've marked, for every single one, we've got a mark of the Keith score and then the original human score. So this is when you're using your historic papers, and hopefully you can all see a really, really strong correlation. You're always going to have some of the outliers, as John and Manjinder talked about. People do not mark accurately every time. The advantage, I guess, with Keith and with any AI marking system, to be honest, they don't get hungry, they don't get hungover, they absolutely can keep on going, which is great. Okay, again, thinking about data protection, thinking about the ethics of this, we absolutely take data really seriously. We take data protection really seriously. We are, again, not quite as far along the line as the other guys. So we've got our Cyber Essentials. If you look that up, we're going for our ISO 27001 accreditation at the moment. And the way that our data is protected, we use Microsoft Azure, and the data does not go out to the rest of the world. So one of the reasons why we suggest using systems like ours instead of large language models, you put it onto a large language model, that data could go anywhere. People could be taking the data and using your students' IP or university IP, training other things or taking that away. That does not happen with ours. So you get your own cloned version of our core model. All of your data stays within that, so it's never going to go anywhere. Within our new website, which is launching at the end of this month, you'll find a load of great information about the ethics, the process, the data architecture, everything like that. So happy to share more. And in summary, I wanted to briefly have a slide just to talk about the Jisc trial and what we're doing. A few questions. So whenever I'm in doubt of what kind of questions are people going to have, who, what, where, when, why, is the usual starting point for me. So who? We are looking to work with up to 10 UK institutions, and I understand Jisc will be selecting across HE and FE, so it'd be brilliant to have you guys on board with us. What are we offering? So we are offering a 6-month unlimited trial. That means from the start of your trial with us, we will work with you for 6 months. We're not placing any caps on the number of staff accounts, on the number of student papers you can put through that system. So we really want you to have a great go at this. Where are you going to do this? So we do have Keith operating in a number of different places. This trial will be working on our web-based version. We've got our 2.0 version launching at the end of this month. We do have virtual learning environment integrations, so Blackboard, Moodle, D2L Brightspace, Canvas. Those are excluded from this trial, but are things that we can then look at beyond the scope of this trial. And when? So again, I've said the 6 months, so that would put us really starting with any of you between September through to March. So you could start your 6-month trial at any point within that range. And why? Why would you want to do this? So we really think this Jisc trial represents a great way to test this tool out. There are now costs if you come direct to us. So Jisc are covering those costs, which is great. And I think another advantage is that you would be able to do it with a group of like-minded people. So one of the things I really liked about the pilot structure, there will be regular meetings with everybody involved in using the same tool. So you'll have some camaraderie. We'll be able to field a lot of questions coming from similar institutions at the same time. So I'd urge you all to look at the blog, look at the dates and the deadlines, and do have a go. Another QR code if you need it, so you can scan that. That'll take you through to a booking page. But hopefully I'm very Googleable. Do find me, and I'd love to answer any questions you have afterwards. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Chris. Just to note that there's a few questions still coming in the Q&A section and in the chat. So please, vendors, have a look at those while you're not presenting. Peter, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Right, and hopefully seeing my screen. Okay,
Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for coming along to see all of these very interesting presentations, and great to see both of those from our colleagues there. My name is Peter Kilcoyne. I'm the Managing Director for Teachermatic. I recognise quite a few of the names on here. I've worked in further and higher education since 1986. I'm a proper old time, and I did do 8 years working at Jisc as well in that time. So well connected, know lots of people in the further and higher education field. So what I'm going to do today is just give you a quick background on Teachermatic, and then do a live demonstration of some of the tools that will be involved in this pilot. My colleague Jeff is answering questions. So firstly, going back sort of 3 years plus when we sort of started down this journey with my colleagues at Teachermatic, when we first saw generative AI, we saw that it offered huge benefits to people in education, particularly around saving time, the resulting health and well-being as stress levels go down, creative new ideas that it can generate, and generally improving teaching, learning and assessment. But, and a big but, that as soon as I started playing with things like ChatGPT, it was very clear to me, and having been someone whose main role for the last 20 plus years has been supporting academic staff in using technology, this isn't necessarily very easy to use. If you want to get good outputs and good usage of generative AI, you've got to be very good at prompt engineering, which is a complicated old beast. And not many academic staff have the time or the skill sets necessarily to become good prompt engineers. So it's clear to us, the people behind Teachermatic, that a toolkit that did all the heavy lifting, did all the prompt engineering in the background, could be a really useful thing for colleges and universities. So I got together with 3 close friends, people I've known for many years, have worked in further and higher education, and we got together to build Teachermatic, and one of our stratlines is built by educators for educators. And one of the key reasons for that is we have what's called a co-design model. So everything that we do is designed in partnership with colleges and universities. So from day one, when we started this platform, the 4 of us didn't just say, right, what do we need? We got together with people we knew from the college and university sectors and looked at what their needs were. And we've since then used that co-development model to co-design model to build all of our tools and the whole platform ever since. And so just a few sort of basic facts about Teachermatic. It's a platform that enables teachers and indeed non-teaching staff. We've got an awful lot of tools for non-teaching staff now. Again, this is all generated by our customer base, these ideas, for them to do all sorts of tasks. So it's not just an assessment platform. That's very important. We've got over 150 different tools. About 20 of those are around assessment. So if you do apply for this and you do get involved, you'll be able to use all these other tools as well, though the pilot project will be very much focused on the assessment tools. It's a secure and managed platform, so same as the other 2 projects, it's all GDPR compliant, nothing goes into training models, anything like that. We've got filtering on there, which filters out a lot of the biases that you might find in large language models. We also do bespoke options for organisations that sign up to us. We can build bespoke tools for you. And everything we do is community driven and is based around community engagement. And just in terms of the generators, we've got our 150 generators. These are how many they go across different roles. So they're not just there for teachers, for non-teaching staff, leaders, quality, HR, marketing, etc. It's quite a big, wide toolkit that we offer. And it offers a whole range of different tools for different activities, such as planning, content creation, creating learning activities, marking and feedback, the focus of this pilot, communication, quality improvement, marketing, HR. So it's a very big toolkit that does all sorts of different things as well as assessment. And just some key facts about Teachermatic before I go into the demonstration. We launched this toolkit in 2023. We had 18 generators, these bespoke tools, when we launched it. We've now got over 150 generators that work across lots of different roles. We've got over 300 organisations signed up to use Teachermatic, including 170 from what I call the Jisc community: universities, colleges, adult community learning, training providers. And I do recognise quite a few people in this room as well as Teachermatic users. We've got over 60,000 users currently using the platform, and we're very proud that last November we won the Learning Technologies Most Innovative Learning Technologies Product UK Award. And we've done a lot of research, as of Jisc, in previous pilots with Teachermatic, and the average time saving per week that Teachermatic offers is around about 4 hours per week. So it is offering significant time saving to all the staff that are using the platform. Okay, so I'm now going to do a small demonstration, and I'm a bit of a cheesy dad joke lover, so that's just a random picture of a small demonstration for you. Okay, so here we go. This is what Teachermatic looks like. So you log on to Teachermatic, and you can use your Google login, your Microsoft login, so it ties in with whatever sort of sign-on options your university or college has. And once you're logged on, this is what you see. You see all these different generators: feedback, rubric, assignment, lesson plan, scheme of work, multiple choice questions, etc., etc. Over 170. I haven't got time to show you them all in detail now. I'm just going to quickly show you some of the ones that are around assessment. The first one I'm going to show you is our most popular generator, and this is very good for sort of quick formative assessment, is a multiple choice generator. And with all of our generators, it's very straightforward. You just click on the generator icon on the platform, and you then go, a pop-up appears, and you fill in the form, and that will then put in the information we need for the prompts in the background, and then give you the output. So if you want to build some multiple choice questions, you put in a topic, and you just have to do the ones that have got the star on. So some of these are optional. So I put in, I want some multiple choice questions on artificial intelligence. This is optional, but I put in education here. Additional information, again optional, I put focus on the use of AI in education. I want 10 questions for higher education. I click on the generate button, takes about 20 seconds, and it writes me 10 multiple choice questions. And one of the key features of Teachermatic is that we can export into all different formats, and these are all things that have been requested by our users. So if you look at the export for multiple choice questions, you see we've got Word, Google, Moodle, Kahoot, Quizzes, Booklet, Blackboard, Canvas, lots of different platforms. And just to show you some examples, I'm afraid Teams has got this annoying thing at the top there, so I've just got to minimize and go out. That we can export this as a Word document, and then you can go and say Google Forms. I haven't got time to do that now, and it will produce a Google Forms quiz, or you can export it into Quizzes, Kahoot, etc. with a multiple choice. The next tool I want to show you is the rubric generator. So you may want to have some rubrics around the assignments that you want to use through the Jisc pilot, and this is a generator that will build rubrics for you. So again, you click on the form, the rubric generator icon, and a form pops up. And so here you can decide whether you want to put in an assignment title, an assignment file, or some text. And I just want a title. And this one I'm going to do for a BTEC Level 3 engineering course. I want to create a marking rubric around an overview of PPE, protective equipment in welding. I tell it what scale I want, and we've got lots and lots of different scales built in there. This is the most commonly used one, I think, in universities, but we've got other ones that, and for further education, the sort of typical BTEC type scale there. You put in what your performance indicators are, and it will then produce you a marking rubric, which you can again export in different formats, Word, PDF, CSV, etc., to share with your learners. Okay, I'm now going to move on to look at the actual feedback generated. And here I'm going to do feedback on an assignment that's using that particular marking rubric. So I'm an engineering teacher. I've given my students a formative piece of work to write a short essay type activity to describe with examples the importance and use of PPE in welding. And so the things you've got to fill in with this, very straightforward. So you can either say I wanted to do it from a title. If you've got an assignment brief, you can upload that assignment brief and that will go into Teachermatic and it will know about that, or you can paste the assignment brief. So in this case, I've just done the title. They said, do I want to upload or paste the student work? I want to upload it. And they say, I've uploaded that student's work there. What sort of feedback do I want to give? We've got the option between formal formative, formal summative, or informal. And in this case, I've chosen formal formative feedback. And how should the work be graded? I've got options here for select a Teachermatic rubric, upload an assignment rubric, so I'm uploading that rubric that I've just created, or you can select a grading scale, or you can just ask it to give you feedback without grading. So in this case, I've said I'm going to upload a rubric, and I've uploaded that rubric that Teachermatic has created. I click on the generate button, it takes about 30 seconds, and you see it's written me this feedback. So it's given me summary feedback here. It's broken the assignment down into different sections and given it a grade on each of the different sections, given some overall summary feedback at the end and given an overall grade at the end. So that's the typical FE piece of work. I'm now looking at how it might be used in HE. And when I was an academic, I taught psychology in HE and in FE. And so I've taken a typical sort of first year undergraduate psychology essay here. So what ethical considerations should a researcher take into account when designing psychological research? Give examples of good and poor practice from published studies. So fairly straightforward, standard psychology essay. And so in this case, I put in that as the title. I said I want to upload the work again, and I've uploaded the essay there. So I've just uploaded the Word document. I said I want formal summative feedback. This is going to go towards a final grade. And here I've chosen, rather than to upload a rubric, to select a grading scale. And see, again, like with a rubric, we've got lots and lots of different potential grading scale. And if you use any grading scale that isn't on that, just tell us and we will add that in. I clicked on the generate button, and that is then marked that essay for me. Again, broken it down into different sections, given a grade for each different section. So it's picked up that section certainly needed some improvement. And then given an overall grade. And again, I can export that. And generally the recommendation is you'd export that as a Word document. Lots and lots to work on. I'm sure what this pilot does is, you need to look at your whole policies and procedures if you're going to use AI for marking. We recommend it's done alongside human marking, but just to do some of the heavy lifting for you. And, I remember those Sunday afternoons where I'd have a massive pile of marking on my dining room table and ploughing through it. This potentially can make a big difference to the amount of work for your academic staff doing that. So those are some of the key features of Teachermatic. So just going back to my presentation, just got a couple of final slides. In terms of our next steps, we've been doing work with universities, and in fact we've had someone recently doing masters marking with Teachermatic, and they're giving some very positive feedback. But we know that large language models do struggle as you get higher and higher up the scale. But we are finding now with third year degree and masters, we're getting some very good feedback on how well Teachermatic does perform, but we are doing further work to make that even better. We will be developing in the next few months, hopefully, a bulk upload tool. So rather than just uploading one assignment, you can upload the whole class and it will mark all 20, all 30, or all 100 if you've got a large university group. So that is coming down the line. And we're also looking at developing something.
It might just be me, but I think it's getting, the sound quality was a little bit lower there. So I don't know if there's a microphone issue or something, but it was just that last minute.
Okay, I live out in the sticks and I've got this weird 4G broadband thing, and it's probably linked to that, I'm afraid. Yeah. So have I got a minute just to go over that again, Tom, or do you want me to move on?
Yeah, no, please do. Okay. No, maybe it's people saying it's fine for them.
Okay, that's great. So we're also going to be releasing, probably in the new year, something called Learnomatic, which is a student-facing version of this. So your students can upload their own essays and assignments and get them pre-marked before they submit them to you, and hopefully that will improve the student performance. So that is, again, coming down the line. So thank you very much. And just, there's my email address in big. Please write that down. And if you've got any further questions, if you would like to have a short-term trial log-on, just to have a go and to try it out at your college or university, please email me and I'll share one of those. Or if you'd like to have a meeting with me or any of my colleagues to discuss further, have a more in-depth show and tell, and ask further questions, would be delighted to do that. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll just, if you leave the screen there for a second, so people can just make sure they've got your details, and I'll ask John Manjinder and Chris just to share their details again at the moment, just so everyone's got them. Thanks very much for that. One thing I'll share in the chat just towards the end, just so it's there and at the top of everyone's screen, is the blog that announced the pilot, which explains the application process, how to apply and what we're looking for in that application process. One of the questions I wanted to speak to that has come up in the chat was about which kind of assessments we envisaged these products being used on as part of the pilot. It was mentioned in the chat whether this would be sort of seen with a summative or formative assessments, whether we'd be looking at live student assessments or historic assessments. The answer to that question is that we are open to all of those contexts, because they all bear some relation to how AI, bear a strong relation to how AI can address the issue of marking and feedback. I completely agree with the point that the assessment is not, the assessment process is not only marking and feedback. There are lots of other aspects, but the question on our mind is, the overriding question is how can AI address those particular aspects of assessments which we think are A, highly amenable to AI, and B, very time consuming. So we are trying to keep it focused on those aspects whilst recognizing the broader context. In terms of formative, summative, live, historic, it will be your discretion at the institution as to which is the most appropriate for your setting, for your students. What we had envisaged is that people are probably unlikely to put forward for a pilot using an AI tool for a very high stakes assessment that's worth a high percentage of students end grade. More likely to be the kind of the lower stakes in the sense of being more feedback focused, have a formative aspect to it, or being worth a lower grade. Historic assignments could definitely work, and we have looked at like using historic work in previous pilots. If you feel that the case is strongest for that use case, then that's very much something that we're open to. Excellent. What I'd do, we've got a few more minutes left, so I'd just like to let people put their slides on with their respective contact details. So John and Manjinder, would you like to pop yours up for 30 seconds or so?
Sure, I'll just put it up, Tom.
Thank you.
There are lots of questions in the Q&A as well, just in case anyone wants to field some of those. I know the chat's been getting a lot of attention. So just if there's anything there that anyone wants to pick up while we've got some time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's still quite a lot of questions going forward, but and one thing I would say is that a number of those questions will be asked if you go to the blog. So within the blog announcing the pilot, there are blogs linking to each of the products you've spoken to today. It discusses points around who needs accounts, whether it's staff and students, both or one or the other, context in which these platforms work best, so subjects and levels, for instance, and also a little bit more about the products and how they work in practice. So there is some really useful detail there. But of course, if you've got any further questions, you've had Peter's up, John's details up at the moment, and I'll just ask Chris, would you like to share a slide with yours, just so everyone's got that to mind as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Again, very orange, just careful.
There we go.
Could someone do the access to the blog in the Q&A for those that can't access the chat? That'd be really useful. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes. So I've just posted the blog at the top of the Q&A, and I'll just post it in the chat as well. And as Sue has just posted in the chat, so our email address is